What's good, my fellow stock market freaks? It's your boy Kevin. Welcome back to the channel. I was sitting here the other day reviewing how I did in the market in 2021, looking at my Webull account. And even though we had a monster year, netting over 250% in the Webull YouTube account, I noticed a few things, and that was my three biggest losers. Pretty big losers. They were all EV stock. That sent me down the rabbit hole of doing autopsies on all three of those positions and looking at why they didn't work out and why they were losers. I think that's important. Most retail, newer traders and investors, if they have a losing position, they sell out of it, forget about it, and never look at it again. However, I think it's important for investors to look at their losing positions, probably even more so than looking at the winners. Look at the losers, figure out why they were a loser, and then learn from that mistake and become a better investor. I personally think that the EV market is still too expensive, that there is a lot of problems with some EV stocks. So we're going to be talking about the mistakes that I personally made in investing in some EV losing stocks, which EV stocks I think still have a lot of upside potential, and which stocks I'm going to be staying away from in the EV sector. 2021, there's no doubt about it, it was the year of the EV stock. Any PR, any press release that had the word EV in it sent stocks skying higher. There was momentum, there was FOMO, it was a wild ride. We made a lot of money in the EV sector overall here on this channel, but my biggest losers were EV stocks. So that sent me down the rabbit hole of doing autopsies on each of those three biggest losers and figuring out why it happened and what I can do in the future to avoid making those same mistakes. My biggest loser in 2021 was XL Fleet. Talked about this stock a lot on the channel, and it was a terrible investment. We bought it started buying it up at $20 plus per share, and I ended up selling out of that position down around $13 per share, and we ended up losing about $2,500 to $3,000 on that position here in my Webull account. I only lost $3,000. It would have been a $10,000+ loss if I wasn't selling covered calls on the way down. So that helped cushion some of the blow, but it was still a very big loser in my account. In fact, the biggest loser here in my Webull account. My second biggest loser was HYLN. Now, I still have faith in HYLN, and we're going to go through these stocks individually here in a second. Just want to talk about the three biggest losers I had real quick. HYLN, the same thing happened. We were buying high, and I sold cover calls on the way down. That helped lessen some of the blow. This was my biggest position for a while in the account. I still own quite a bit of HYLN, and I do think there is still potential for this company to be successful. And my third biggest loser was Li Auto. I ended up taking a swing trade here. This was actually a swing trade, still my third biggest loser. I bought it right here, pretty sizable position. My stop loss was under this pivot. It broke through the pivot. As it was a swing trade, you got to respect your stop, so I stopped out. So those were my three biggest losers in the account for 2021. I think there are some major issues in the EV sector going forward. A lot of these price points are extremely overvalued. I know there's going to be a lot of future growth here with EV over the coming decade or so, but here's the problem. That growth is in a large way already priced in to a lot of these stocks. Number two, selling cars to common consumers is not a very profitable business model. Look at the valuation of companies like Ford and General Motors. Their price to sales ratio, their price to earnings ratio, their PE, and their price to sales are very, very low because the margins are very tight and it's hard to make money with the traditional dealership model. However, we have seen what Tesla has done with their kind of remote model where they sell the cars online and you go pick it up at these various locations. And I'm sure these EV companies are going to be trying to copy what Tesla has done and grow and build off of that model. But selling common consumer cars, it's very hard to make money. So what EV stocks do I like and what EV stocks am I staying away from in 2022? Obviously, I like Tesla. They have so many paths to growth that it's not even funny. Even though we've seen a monster run up and the valuation is pricey, there's no doubt about that. But they have octopus tentacles. You have the main business model, which is their cars, right? And then you have these octopus tentacles just coming out of the company and going in every direction. One of those tentacles hits it big, that's a bunch of revenue coming back into Tesla. Think about solar. Think about autonomous driving, robo-taxis. There's just so many ways that Tesla can grow. They're starting to talk about selling their software, maybe even software as a service. There are paths for continued growth here with Tesla. Not every EV stock can say that. The semi-truck, the Tesla semi-truck is nearing closer and closer to production every day. And once that hits the street, once that first Tesla semi-truck is seen on the street, you know there's going to be hype and FOMO surrounding Tesla stock, and I do believe we see a pop once the semi-truck announcement is made. So you have a catalyst there. There's just so many ways that Tesla can provide the numbers, the earnings numbers, the sales numbers needed to fill into these trillion-dollar shoes. NIO. I have been very critical of NIO in the past. However, I think it's at a price point today where there is an opportunity to start loading up on some NIO and looking for a retest of those all-time highs in 2022. If we take a look at the NIO chart, we are considerably off the highs. A move back to those all-time highs, that's a 100% 2x move right there. May not look like it, but that is a monster move back to those all-time highs. So there is a good risk to reward ratio right now with NIO. It's a fast-growing company. They posted monster numbers in 2021. The kind of shine has faded off of the EV sector, and NIO is sold off with it. But once again, we're bull flagging, the chart's setting up, and it's looking like this thing wants to find a bottom and break back out. I think NIO does have a good 2022, and things are still looking bright for NIO in the future. $30 we're trading at right now. I do think that is a pretty good deal. XPEV Motors, I like XPEV Motors. I talked about how hard it is to make money in EV or just in selling cars in general. But XPEV Motors, you're talking about a completely different market, and there's still a battle in China. NIO hasn't won that battle yet. They may be in the lead, but XPEV is runner-up right now, and I do believe this company will be profitable and will be successful. I like their product line, I like their vehicles, and I think this is going to be a monster in the future. Right now, we're trading at $44 a share. It's a good deal at that price, in my opinion. We got all-time highs way up there at $75 per share. So NIO does have a little more upside to a retest of all-time highs, but you're still talking about a 75% move for XPEV Motors back up towards those all-time highs, so there is still a lot of upside potential. Like NIO, like Tesla, XPEV Motors saw monster growth in 2021, and I fully expect that growth to continue in 2022. All right, so what EV stocks am I staying away from? Well, XL Fleet, that's off my list. Sold it for a loss, took the beating. I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. I think it's important for stock market YouTubers, crypto YouTubers to be transparent. It's not all winners here. We have losers, and I have losers. Even though I have more winners than losers, I still take big losses. And XL Fleet wrote it off the map, staying away from it. It is a flawed business model. I wish I had realized that a few months ago and could have avoided my biggest loss of the year, but we learned from our mistakes, and I'm moving on from XL Fleet. All right, so let's talk about the big green monster, HYLN. It's been a disappointing 6 or 7 months, to say the least, for HYLN. And you guys know how vocal I was in my support and my belief of this company, and I still do believe in HYLN. I still do believe this is a $100 stock 5-6 years from now. However, we took a beating. There's no doubt about it. We took a beating, and I'm going to be transparent. It was my second biggest loser of the year. That said, this is a growing company. This is not a company that's dying. So obviously, if this is a growing company, I still think it's a buy, because we're off the highs by a monster amount. A move back up to all-time highs is a 10x move. This is 1,000% move back to all-time highs from where we're at $5.24 today. The risk to reward ratio is outrageous at these prices. We're trading at $5.24. What's the downside? Where's the cap on the downside? Obviously, that's 0. What are the odds that this company just shutters up and disappears? I don't think that happens. Where the logistics industry, the trucking industry has to be trending in this direction. The EV, total EV, right? The range is not good enough for these truckers, so there's going to be an alternate solution. What is that alternate solution? Is HYLN in the picture for that alternate solution? I believe so. The stock chart paints a picture that HYLN is dying. I don't believe that to be true. HYLN is accelerating growth, and they're expanding their headquarters in Austin, Texas. They're hiring 500 new employees. If you're a company that's dying, are you going to hire 500 more employees? Absolutely not. They're redesigning their double powertrain installation capacity and triple battery development space. The Hypertruck is supposed to be launched in early 2022. And there are going to be so many tax incentives for these fleets to change over to a zero emission solution like the Hypertruck ERX. So it is my belief that HYLN, once they launch the Hypertruck, that there will be some kinks, there will be some problems with manufacturing, but I think the demand will be there. They will post better than expected results from the release. The numbers will be good, and investors will realize that down here where we're trading right now in the $5, $6, $7 range, that this is a stupid good deal, and we're going to see FOMO and hype come back into HYLN. So I'm patiently waiting. Patient investors will be rewarded. I'm going to do a separate standalone video on HYLN in the next week or so. So if you guys are into HYLN, make sure you subscribe and turn on those notifications. Let me know in the comment section what you think of the EV sector overall going forward, and your favorite EV stock for 2022. My biggest loser in 2021 was an EV stock, but I'm guessing my biggest winner in 2022 could very well be an EV stock. I love you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until next time, deuces.